2 seconds while I say goodbye. Welcome to the Free Agent REI podcast. I'm your host, Stratton Brown, my co-host.
And I'm your other host, Michael Butler. Guys, thank you for tuning in with us.
We got a dope guest today, Deal Master Dean.
Oh, shit.
The man who dispos all of my deals. All of them.
Say something for yourself.
Bro, he's a business partner now.
Say something for yourself, Dean.
What's up,
Say
guys?
something.
Thanks for having me, man.
The closer, he's the dispo king of Central Valley. Used to play for the Chargers. Home Helpers Group, and I remember seeing that name. I was like, oh man, Home Helpers Group. Like, that's just
helping folks.
Right out there, helping sellers.
Oh my God,
Solving problems.
Those tight end hands, baby.
Yeah, with those tight end hands,
baby. Look at these things.
And it's all virtual too, right? Yeah, it's all virtual for you.
I mean, for me at least.
I mean, that's what you want, though.
Man.
Yeah.
That is freaking exciting.
Well, thank you for coming on, man. I mean, real quick, if you guys want any type of virtual staffing, go to callmagicians.com. Besides that, you got anything, Mike?
Man, if you're looking to comp your deals like a pro, besides hitting up Dean, go ahead and get Propstream. Again, that's mainlinecomps.com. Mainlinecomps.com. We use it every day in our business to run our comps and to look up properties and analyze deals.
All right, man. Let's start. Dino, what got you into real estate, bro?
Man, so my story goes back to playing for the Chargers, man. Coming out of college, and I was training in Fresno, training with a lot of Fresno State guys, and got picked up by the Chargers right after it was the year of the lockout, and I made it, man. Hit every dream had come true. I saw what that life was going to provide, man. Like it was crazy. And you dream of what it's going to be like, but when you're there, and what I experienced, at least, it was the shit, man. Like it was crazy. It was crazy. I still have dreams about it, man. I still have dreams. Well, I'll wake up and I'm like, I'm back. And I'll wake up with the biggest smile and like my heart pounding. And then I'm like, shit. It's not too bad. I'm in La Jolla. I'm cool.
So you're in a nice little space, man.
Yeah, it's not too bad. But man, it was crazy cool. It was a completely different lifestyle. I mean, like you just think about the celebrity lifestyle and like that other kind of world, and you're kind of there. And just the treatment you get, the experiences you get, the exclusivity to things that you get, the money you can make. It's just a different level. And so for me, I had made it, man. All right, I'm going to have a long career. North Turner's, stopping me multiple times saying I'm going to have a long career. And then, I started to feel my body felt amazing. I was playing great, felt great, but I just was starting to feel the effects of pounding my head in. And a light switch went off because that same year I went into the NFL, they just started to actually talk about concussions. Before it was just like, yeah, concussions, like no big deal. But it's like, no, these are serious. And people were hanging up their cleats and going public with it. And Junior Seau killed himself my rookie year. And
Patrick Willis retired like a couple of years after that too, right? Like really early.
Yeah. So for me, it was the hardest decision of my life still to this day, which was, do I continue pursuing my dreams, everything I ever wanted, and what I know that would include, the whole package, or do I move on and big picture, probably live longer and be healthier? Because my body's aching now today, and I ended early,
Yeah.
But it was a hard decision, man. But I didn't. As soon as I came out, I still had all the juices flowing, the competitive juices, the discipline that you get as an athlete. And of course, to be to that level, like you got to be more disciplined than anybody, and dedicated to the T. And so I came out and started working right away. And I moved to the Bay Area and started working for a software company. And worked my ass off the first year. And I'm thinking, I'm working my ass off. They're going to recognize this talent, and they're going they're going to bump up the pay big, right?
Not everyone's like me, man. They're not going to recognize that talent.
Right.
Looking along with that cute face.
What's going on, Alon?
So yeah, man, I went through that first annual review, and they're like, yeah, we'll give you like a 2-3% boost, and my starting pay was $65,000, which is great for someone starting out of college. That's not bad. But for me, like, I came from a different experience.
I'm saying you're coming from the NFL, and how long
You're
were
coming
you there?
from?
You're signing $1 million contracts, and
So 65, yeah.
And so I came out of that and that experience and felt like crap. And I went home. I remember going home to we had a 424 square foot studio. Me and my wife were in, and it's an apartment. It was kind of a cool spot. It was on the bluffs there, overlooking the ocean. Awesome sunsets. You see dolphins, surfing the waves and stuff like that. But it was super expensive, and I just remember feeling like I'm not going to have any money at this job and this expensive ass, cost of living. And so I went on Google and I researched how to get started in real estate. I grew up watching Dean Graziosi on late night TV and staying up till like 2 a.m. just watching it over and over. Like, I got to do it. And I never jumped at that age because I didn't really think I could do it at 12, 13, 14. But I still remember, like, what else am I passionate about? What else do I like? What could I see myself doing? And like everything I've done to this day, I just went straight into it. I took action. I didn't look back or really think about it. And I typed in Google, how to get started in real estate. I found Sean Terry's podcast, his free podcast. And he gave step-by-step instructions. He laid the foundation. This is how you talk to sellers. This is how you find buyers. This is how you do marketing. But some of his podcasts were really specific. Like, let me walk you through my contract. I'm going to go through every single word and explain why it's this way. Ooh. And let me tell you every single step. I'm going to take you and walk you through List Source, how to create a list. So from day one of finding his podcast and starting, I was obsessed. And I would wake up in the middle of the night, like re-listening to a podcast just to try to understand the concepts, because they're, foreign to someone just getting started. And, after 3 months of deciding that I was going to do real estate and still working my full-time job, I did my first deal. And the cool story, in addition to doing my first deal and doing it in 3 months, was I actually did it with Sean Terry. I co-wholesaled with him.
Bringing value, baby.
Finding a deal in his market, and I couldn't find a buyer. And so I was thinking, well, what do I do? I don't have Sean Terry's number, but I know he's a boss, wholesaler in the area. So I went to his website and I typed in the property address I had under contract. His acquisition manager called me and spoke to him. He's like, let me put you in touch with Sean. So Sean called me while he on his cell, and then boom, he's like, I can get this sold for you. So sold it for 12 grand profit. We split it each $6 grand. I was like, hell yeah, now I know it works. So did a couple more deals with him, and then started doing them on my own, and started marketing, and just kept growing and growing and growing.
Did you do Fortune Builders?
I ended up joining Fortune Builders about a year and a half after already been in the business, making money, because I wanted to grow my network. I wanted to learn more. Like, what else do I not know? Right. And that was just like, they had such a good system. I mean, and they got such good people in the community itself. So it kind of weeds out a lot of the, crappy people you could run into. So it helped grow my community really fast.
I think one of the things, hold on. Yeah. I think one of the things that kind of stuck out when you talk about kind of how you got started, it stemmed from a place of, ultimately you get into a place where you're kind of fed up, right? They tell you what you're worth, what your perceived worth is to them at that point, right? After working for them for a while, and they give you a raise. quote unquote a raise, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, you realize that's not something that you can see yourself doing, forever, based off the lifestyle that you were living at that point. And you go ahead and you look for something that another passion, something that's how do you get started in something? And I think a lot of people do look, for other avenues to generate more money and to get into real estate. You found a lane, but the biggest thing is you did take action. And I think it's dope because we just talked about it last week when we talked about leading with value and how you're able to get underneath people who are already doing it. I mean, you went to Sean Terry,
the guy,
and that's the guy, right? We talk about, we have our guys here in the Central Valley. I mean, this is a nationwide guy. Mm-hmm. And you were able to work a deal with him because you led with a deal. You brought him a deal. And in return, you were able to get thousands of dollars in value from just bringing a deal to this person.
Yeah, 100%.
When did you quit?
That was legit. Damn, that's a hard word, man. When did you decide to move on? Damn.
No, I'm not talking about from football. I'm talking about your job.
Yeah. No, a couple years in, but I think like all people, it's your safety net, it's your comfort area, and you just kind of got to scale into it to where you've got the systems all in place and you're running and you feel good about where you're at.
Okay. What have you always been so high energy? Because I could have worked with anybody, but I like working with Dean because I get a phone call from Dean O. He's, what's going on? What's going on, baby? We got a deal. Right. And it's high energy. And the big thing for me, right, is I want to be with people who make me feel good. Right. It's high energy, exciting. Have you always been like that? Do you work on that? Did you learn it? Like, what's that for you?
Yeah. So only reason I'm not doing it right now is because I got kids 2 rooms over. So I get in big trouble having to try to put them back to bed. But for me, like, it goes back to the sports days. Like, I've always been the guy who's coming with goofy high energy. Like, I just like to have fun. I'm a big kid. I'm a total goofball. When I'm not, even when I'm being serious, I can still be goofy. But like, if you get me outside of any serious situation, I'm a total goofball and look like a kid. So I like to bring that to the work and like to my passion of real estate. And whenever I get a deal, like, there's nothing, it feels like I scored a touchdown in a game, like, it feels so good and it just gives me so much energy. I just love passing that around and like having fun with it. Cause we're all going to feed off of that and we're all going to enjoy it and we're going to want more of that. And it's fun for me,
I love it, bro. What's going on, Bo?
What's up, Bo?
And I don't know who this is.
I'm checking right now, see if I can get it.
Let's talk about fortune builders, bro. And I remember you telling me about how easy it was with your network for them to raise cash on deals and how big that's been.
Insane.
To talk about that situation, if you can, about like, hey, yeah, we got this deal. We do a deal with them and what that looked like, right? Just from your network, from buying into that. Because it's a higher buy-in type of thing.
Yeah. You're saying when they raise money for a deal or
that deal, that commercial deal we were talking about down in Visalia.
Just recently, right? Oh, the one I did?
Yeah, the one you did with them.
Yeah. So the one I did with them. So I went to it was either their first or their second annual event that they call Ignite. And they put on a big event. They have big speakers come. They've got great topics and they've grown it over the years, right? They didn't start out doing commercial, but they've grown into it and they're doing massive commercial deals, whether it's several hundred unit apartment complexes or grocery store outlets or whatever it is, tens of millions of dollars. They're doing those deals now. But long story short, I came back from, it was either their first or their second annual event. And they had just started talking about commercial, like, hey, if you got commercial deals, we want to look at them and, we'll work on them. So I left a month later, someone had presented me a deal and I didn't really know like how to, analyze those deals. Mm-hmm. So I was cool with those guys living down in San Diego. when I first moved back to San Diego and had just recently joined Fortune Builders, I was gravitated to them, like their personality types, their sports guys. Stan was in the NFL. Like I felt like they were cool dudes. And so naturally I reached out to one of the owners on Facebook and just was like, yo, what's up, man? I'm moving to San Diego. What gym do you want to work, or what gym do you work out at? I'm ready to crush some weights with you guys. And they just told me where they worked out. So for years we were working out at the same gym and like developing a friendship. And then just after that annual event, all it took was me making a phone call saying, hey, check out this deal. And lo and behold, they funded it in right away.
Like instantly, right? You're like, bro, it was the easiest thing I've ever seen.
Oh, it's nuts. Yeah.
And do you still do anything with Fortune Builders?
I still network with a lot of people. So there's Fortune Builders peoples who will either bring deals to me, right? That we might buy as a rental or a flip, or we might co-wholesale. For some Fortune Builder students will buy deals from us. And then other people growing new relationships. Like I'm about to expand into the San Diego market here in a couple weeks. Okay. Little teaser on that. So we're about to break into some marketing with another Fortune Builder student in the San Diego market and take that on. So yeah, it's just the relationships are the best thing to come out of that for sure.
So are you going to go to any of those appointments?
I might.
Oh, that's a good question.
Right, because for the most part, you have your feet. How do you say that? Your boots on the ground, right? You got your boots on the ground in all the other markets, obviously.
Yeah.
With you being where you are, I think that's pretty exciting for you because I think that's one thing, like I've always said about this business, that I hate to let go is going on appointments. And, that's what I thrive in. I love being able to, interact with people. And, just really, to me, it's more of a genuine approach, right? You can put a face to something, it's face to a name or a voice on the phone. And so I think that's something that you could really thrive in, especially, going into a new market if you're going to be the one going on those appointments.
Yeah, it might be. Something I did in another market when we first got into Bakersfield, we teamed up with another investor. And one of the things I did when I was running acquisitions was the guy who was the boots on the ground driver. He'd go to all the appointments, take the pictures, and then he would leave. I just started having him stay there and literally hold the phone on speakerphone and explain to the seller, like, hey, Dean's going to talk to you now and tell you where we're at on the numbers. And I've got this contract here, so when you're ready, we can sign it. So I would negotiate over the phone and then be like, all right, so go ahead and tell, so-and-so to put $80,000 on the paper and you guys can go ahead and sign it.
What?
Yeah.
That's smart, though. That's really smart.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good.
So what does your portfolio look like right now?
So I think let me look at this thing.
Sorry, guys, I was having technical difficulties over here.
No, you're good.
It's all good, man.
Man.
I think we're at 54 units. It's about 6.5, probably a little higher, $6.5 million worth of real estate. It's all in the Central Valley. We got a couple $1 million of equity in it. And, that's where we're at right now. It's the growth of our rental portfolio has slowed since in the past year. We were going at a way faster pace, but it's slowed just because maybe some of the opportunities that we were seeing there before aren't as present because prices are really appreciating right now.
Yeah.
And I naturally like to buy my properties where we have
Upside.
Almost no money in it.
Okay. Do you raise money for all of them?
Yeah. There's some that we've bought cash and then refied out after. But the model mainly is we'll buy it with a private lender, finance 100% of it. Then we'll remodel it, put a tenant in there, we'll refinance it. And we've got the numbers good enough to where once we refinance it, we're either cashing out the investor and all the money they had and having zero money in it, or if we want to, good enough to where we'll even pull some cash out.
Okay. And so are they all mainly single families, multifamilies? I know you have that commercial strip as well.
Yeah, they're almost all single family. And then we have a sixplex, we have a couple fourplexes, a couple duplexes, some triplexes mixed in there as well.
When did you buy your first one? And what gave you the confidence to do it?
So it was in 2018 where it really went off for me, where I was just running on like 20 flips at a time. And we were ripping through flips, and lots of money would come in and just as much would go out. And I was like, shit, I feel broke all the time.
Yeah.
Doing lots of deals, we're making good money, but I don't see any of it. And like, when is this going to stop? So started to figure out, well, I'm sure to build my wealth, I need to start owning assets and creating cash flow. So in 2018, the light bulb went off, and we had some flips in 2017 that we hadn't got to yet. And I was like, well, talking with my partner, why don't we just keep these as rentals? The numbers are good. So we had a couple flips, properties we had intended to buy as flips. So we just said, let's keep them as rentals. And those became our first couple rentals at the beginning of 2018. And then just the past 2 years, we've scaled it up from there. And then we should be, if we would be on the same pace we'd have a lot more right now. But like I said, last year was pretty slow on rentals and pretty heavy on wholesale.
When did you pivot out of, because I remember when I first started working for Alan, you were a big flipper. When did you pivot out of the flipping game and more into wholesale, and why?
Yeah, so it was end of 2018. There was like a little small market slowdown. It wasn't a drop or a correction. It was like the interest rates had shot up a little bit, and the market like slowed. Like everyone just went on pause for almost a month from like buying or doing anything, because they were just thinking, oh, is the market finally crashing now? So everything paused for a month, and I saw some of our flips sell for a couple thousand less or this or that. And that month of slowdown kind of scared me a little bit, because I hadn't seen any slowdown. I'd just seen 2015, 16, 17, 18. And then I was like, oh, I didn't like that. I got a lot of properties I own right now, a lot of money out. That didn't feel good. So didn't get hurt from any of them. Again, it was just like a pause, but it gave me that little tingle inside, like, ooh, I should pay attention to that, you know? So I realized at that point, and also through years of burning through a lot of flips, that we're really good at finding deals. And I'm the detail guy, like super detailed, all about the process, like every little, like even to like, what are the words that are going to your email to open escrow? I want to make sure it says all these things. My partner, on the other hand, he's the get it done guy, but it might not be the same way every time. And he's not the detail guy. And you got to understand your strengths, right? Yeah. He's good at going on seller appointments and getting the contract. He's good at getting stuff done. He's got tons of experience that he brings to the table, but being like the super on top of it, like project manager guy, which he was the project manager for our flips, and I was all virtual acquisitions.
So was he a flipper first?
So he came out of high school. His family is in real estate and has been, doing great in real estate. So he got out of high school, went right into being a realtor, and then quickly after a flipper, and, has years of experience, and he's grown into being a commercial investor and even in some ag land and different stuff like that. He's done really great. And so he's a great get it done guy and finding deals and getting deals done on appointments, right? But the detailed project manager, love him, but that's just not his strength. So we were going over budget, projects were being extended, and like it was driving me crazy because I just saw money being lost, right? Not that we were losing money on all those deals, but opportunity cost was going out the door. So we decided, let's focus on what we're best at, finding deals. Let's fine tune our marketing. Let's wholesale these deals. And so we pretty much started from ground zero, moving from flipping to wholesaling. We knew the whole experience and the process, but we didn't have the buyers list. We just knew the major players in town. So started selling to them. And then over the past 2 years have really grown that buyers list to be really, really good.
Would you say your business has grown more once you started focusing on finding the deal instead of flipping the deal?
For us, yeah, most definitely. Yeah, we've grown a lot as a result, and it's less to think about on our end. For us, it's less stress. Some people are phenomenal. We know some of the great flippers in the Central Valley that do a phenomenal job and have it dialed in, and they get the max dollar. They squeeze out every dollar on that flip and do a great job. But that's just not what our strength was. So so we focused on what was, For
sure.
It's crazy to me how you are an outgoing integrator who could handle sales, right? Like you're one, like you don't see your personality type a lot, right? Because like your degree's in finance, right?
Yeah.
Right. And
economics.
Well, he's on a podcast with us right now. Most integrators aren't the face of the business either. Most of them are behind the scenes.
So it is interesting because most people can't do both, but I'm almost exactly like my dad. My dad's probably one of the smartest people I know. His memory is complete opposite of mine, where he can remember everything. Like anything he learns, he can almost verbatim remember it. He can like quote history and all this different, stuff that he's learned over the years. But he can get into all the weeds, but then he can be the front facing sales guy and close deals. And so I don't know if I just inherited that or learned it over the years on my own, but I even like accounting. Like I set up all of our QuickBooks. I went through the Fortune Builders program, and Paul Asasian goes through and teaches you how to do QuickBooks because he's the CFO for Fortune Builders. So I set all that up. I work with our, CPAs and bookkeeper and go through all that. And I look at those transactions every day and make sure that they're right. And then, I set up all of our systems, but then, handle sales if we need to as well.
I mean, you're dynamic, and we can pivot into you handling deals for everybody else. Everybody does deals with you because you're outgoing, right? And like they do deals with you because you're an extrovert, and you just don't really see that a lot when you are really digging into the details. Like when I think of a dude with a degree in economics, I think of a guy in the back of the room doing QuickBooks, not talking to anybody like Chase.
Well, let's be real. Everyone does deals with Dean because Dean brings you more, makes you more money. That's ultimately where it would start. Or you've done a deal with Dean because you wanted to try it out and you were like, you know what, this is phenomenal. And then you have a few phone calls with Dean and he's hopping on there. And he's like, what it do, baby? And you just keep going, and it becomes like you're almost like a damn crackhead for some Dean Rogers, right? You're like, let me call Dean. I ain't got shit to talk about, but I'm gonna call Dean just because I need that energy, right? And so I think him being able to do.
Mike always calls me when he's getting food too.
It is, huh? I'm always getting food when I'm talking to you, and I'm always like, man, it's packed. It's packed over here. Man. It's packed over here. But it starts for me. It's the fact that he brings so much value. But then the thing is, he's so fun and he's so fun to talk to, and you get just so much for just the energy coming from him. I think it keeps bringing you back.
I don't know about you guys, but one of the things that just gets me the most excited is just like progress, like just not only winning, but it's not just about one win for me. Like I want to go to the top, and I don't want to do it alone. Like when I first started, I wanted to do it alone to prove it to myself first, but then like prove it to the like haters that I imagined. Like I didn't really have a lot of haters, right?
Came up with his own haters.
But I told myself I had haters, like Michael Jordan and his, series that he had. He would make up stuff about.
And at that moment,
yeah.
What is it, Stratton? And at that moment, he what? And he said in the chair,
I took that personally.
I took that personally.
And I took that personally. And yes, I still do take a lot of things personally. But it's really just for that motivation, right? Like, and I do want to grow with people, but at least for me, like in sports, like that's what got me going. Like, all right, fuck these guys, like the haters, like whoever it was, because it is easy to do it in sports, I think.
Yeah, it's really easy because you got a lot of people that are just hopped up on testosterone and want to win so bad, and it's on both sides. So it's easy to just say, like, you know what, this guy, I'm going to prove it to him that I'm better, right? But in the entrepreneur world, you know, it can be a lonely world unless you open up the community and reach out and are willing to be vulnerable, willing to share information, willing to receive information. And when I first started out, like I said, it was like me against the world, and I wanted to prove to myself and prove to others that, you know, I was worth something. But now it's just like I want to win with as many people as possible. And just what I love working with guys like you is I know I can trust 100%. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Like, I don't want to work with anybody I can't trust. Yeah. And equally, I ask a lot of trust with everybody I work with, because I almost demand for basically you to give me full control, because I know the way I like to run things, and I know based on the way I run things, it's going to get done the right way, and there's going to be as minimal possibility for any sort of hiccups to happen, you know.
Do you go ahead, man?
No, go ahead.
How do you get people to give up that control? Because I remember, like, you told me, like, the way you do it, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. for zero? Come on, bro. I ain't doing it for zero.
Bro, what are you, like, what? Yeah. Like, okay, I guess so. Like, I've talked to you on the phone a couple times. I guess I'm just gonna give you a lot of money. Yeah, right? That's what it was.
So when I explain it to people at first, they're usually a little bit hesitant. I was explaining it to this. I was in a mastermind call the other day, and I explained this process to somebody, and they reached out through the guy who put on the mastermind, saying he wanted to talk to me just because based on me describing my process, he thought I must be a hell of a salesman to get people to do that. So he wanted to talk to me. But basically, like, my process is I want to have control of the contracts and the escrow process, because I know what's going to get it done. Increase the probability to be completely smooth and as least amount of issues. Because whether you're wholesaling or flipping, whatever type of deal you're doing, it doesn't matter. If you've got multiple people involved, and that in itself can complicate things, confuse things. Mm-hmm. The escrow officer could screw it up. The buyer could look at it and feel a certain way about it and be upset. Those names might show up on documents the seller has to sign, and they're wondering, why are all these people on here? You know, It just complicates things. So for me, I like to streamline it and make it smooth. So basically what I do, I told you, you guys obviously know, is when a wholesaler or an investor or whoever comes to me and wants to do a deal, I basically say, hey, you're going to assign it to me for $0. and that sounds counterintuitive. Like, wait, I'm going to give you the rights to buy this property and I'm going to make $0.
Yep.
But then I'm going to assign it to another investor for whatever that dollar amount is, right, that we sold it for. And we're going to split that. And I'm going to pay you when we close. And the reason I do that is because I've just seen it too many times where if I left it up to the person who had the original contract, and maybe they're new or even experienced, if they don't communicate clearly to escrow or to the new buyer, then the stuff just starts to fall apart. And
we had an issue with that early on, I think, when me and you first started working together, because I was a one-man show early, right? And so it was one of those things where I lock up a deal. First thing I did when I locked it up, I sent it over to the title company to open up the escrow. And then from that point, we would handle another assignment to you guys, and then we would do it to the buyer. And then what happens is that communication between me and the title company, but then when it has something to do with the buyer, letting you go ahead and handle that, because you always want to be respectful on that end. But then you have different communications going on with the title company, right? Yeah. And so some messages aren't getting sent over when I can see where it'd be frustrating for you, because it's had you be the only person handling that, you would know of all the communication that's taking place. So I completely understood it.
Yeah, communication is just one part of it, and the other part of it is the fact that how are the assignment fees being handled? How are they being represented on the closing statement for the buyer? The buyer is already used to working with us, so then they're going to wonder, what's this other person doing on here? I thought I was just paying you. And then you try to explain, well, hey, we split this with this other company. Look, the numbers are the same. They're like, well, this is getting messy.
What is too much confusion?
Yeah, and I've experienced that before and knew that we just needed to get rid of that problem. So the way that I get people to trust me is just simply explaining, like, hey, this deal that we're going to split 10 grand and make 5, on this first deal, like 5 grand's not going to change my life. Let me send you a screenshot of my bank account. Like 5 grand's going to do nothing for me. Like, okay.
Yeah.
And I've spent 7 years building my reputation. And if I burn you over 5 grand and you go tell everybody, like, my reputation's gone. And
so that 5 grand is going to cost you way more.
Yeah. Millions. And
you know what I'm saying?
For real. So my reputation is probably my strongest asset right now. Just with the way things are going and people that come to us trusting us to get it done,
Yeah. And it's awesome. And again, it was tough for me early on. I don't want to say tough. It actually took a lot of weight off my shoulders, especially if you're a solopreneur, right? And you're handling it all, right? You're doing the marketing, you're doing the lead management, you're going on the appointments, you're doing all the list building and the skip tracing and the text messaging, and then you finally get this deal locked up, and now you're handling the transaction coordination of it. It was such a weight taken off of my shoulders to just be like, here, Dean. You know what I mean? Because now I was able to focus on generating more leads, getting more deals. And so that was something that we've talked about a lot when it comes to working with others, because you'll grow tremendously just by putting your ego to the side and really understanding that you'll make more money when you start to not capitalize, but when you start to use the relationships that you have.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it in a couple of different ways. The same way that you're building relationships with seller on a personal level, I've been there, done that, and we still do that, of course, getting our own deals. Yeah. But we've done that also with our buyers. Like, anybody could go buy a buyer's list. Anybody could go search what are the most recently sold properties for cash, on Propstream in the past 90 days, and then try to skip trace them and try to cold call them. But most of those people aren't going to answer their phone. Most of the, and if they do, they're probably not actually doing deals, or they're not paying enough for deals. The ones that are actually busy are in the weeds, chasing deals around all day like we are. And we haven't just added people from buying them. We've organically grown that list through relationships and word of mouth and those mom and pop buyers, so that
mattress money.
So when we send a deal out, we also have our buyers trained that, like, they know when we send a deal out, it's a deal. And they know that it's going to sell in minutes, usually. Like, it's usually selling in minutes. So as long as it's not like a funky deal or something. So people will connect and text, call, email in minutes, because they know if they don't, it's going to be gone. So we just got that relationship with our buyers to where when we send something out, they're responding, they want to move forward on it, and they're going to get it done, quickly and easily too.
Reputation, man. And so, guys, if you're tuning in and you got questions for Dean, go ahead and drop them in. We do have 2 questions here, Dean, that I'm gonna put up on the board for you. But yeah, if you guys have questions, go ahead and drop them in. Make sure that you give StreamYard permission to be able to use your name, or else it just says Facebook user. So we don't even know who you are, or just go ahead and include your name. So we have Esther here. Dean, they said, so you pay their part out of escrow. I'm assuming they're talking about when we JV deals and how you kind of do that.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds weird at first if you don't have that trust, But again, the way I structure it is, let's say a wholesaler investor brings us a deal. They're going to assign it to us for $0. And then we assign it to that end buyer for the full amount, right? So let's say it's 20 grand that we got the property sold for. Then I'll get the contract from the wholesaler, assigns it to us for $0. We assign it to the end buyer for the 20 grand. Escrow closes, 20 grand goes to us. $0 goes to the wholesaler that brought it to us or the investor. Then I get your PayPal, you want a check written to you, whatever it is, we're sending it as soon as the money hits our account, is as quick as we're sending it to you. Yep. And we're done and we're on to the next one.
And at no point do you ever feel like you're out of the deal, right? So you guys do a great job of keeping us in the loop of where a deal's at, what the communication looks like. I believe we're even CC'd on a lot of the emails, right? So we're right there with the communication. It's just completely hands off, but 100% transparent.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have Mr. Miguel Sanchez. Do you have a transaction coordinator for a wholesale deal, or do you do all the work while in escrow?
Yeah. So the short answer is I should. We just hired a new office manager that I hope to give more and more responsibility to her. But I believe, and I know deals are still going to get done without someone micromanaging it like myself, but I truly believe that many of the deals that we close on either close on time and something funky doesn't happen, right? The seller just gets cold feet because they got a random phone call the day after, or the buyer had something happen in their family and now they can't wire the funds, or someone breaks into the property overnight. Anything in these deals, usually there's some that we're getting at a discount. There's some sort of problem, not always, but usually there's a problem, and time kills all deals. So the more time, if you got an escrow officer who's slow or lazy or takes a day to respond or whatever it is, like I am texting my escrow officer all day long. And I use Dana Bustamante at Placer Title the most because she has the same personality as I do, where she likes to get after it. She likes a challenge. I even had a situation where I had a buyer back out on a Thursday at like 6 p.m. and we were supposed to close the next day. They were supposed to wire funds that day. I text her and I told her, hey, this deal just fell out, but I think I'm going to find another buyer. I send out the deal. I find another buyer at like 7 p.m. I text her. I say, hey, I'm going to send you the assignment contract. Can we close this tomorrow? She said, I'll do my best. I said, all right. Buyer's going to wire funds first thing in the morning. I really want to close this. She said, I'll do my best. We got a new buyer in there. All the paperwork switched around, everything, buyer package signed in the morning. The buyer was even out of town. He wasn't even in his hometown. He was out of town. He had to get it signed at a hotel, but wired the money, and we closed it that same day. So she even got it done in less than 24 hours, switching around buyers just because she was available. She likes a challenge. She's responsive. And for me, going back to the question, like me building that relationship on that level that I have, I'm able to text her at almost any time. She has a team of people that help support around her, and we're all plugged in together to like, we're going to get these deals closed. And I'm emailing each day. I know where each and every step of the process is and where it needs a little nudge. Like, hey, could you guys get it done today? When it could have in most cases and should have closed 3 days later, because I was nudging it and working that relationship. It got done, days earlier or sometimes a week earlier,
And not everyone could have done that. You know what I mean? It was strictly because it was you. You know what I mean? It was the relationship that she has with you is what made her, certain people make people do things, you know what I mean? And that'd be something, if it wasn't you working that transaction, she might have just been like, there's no chance of getting this done. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
You know what I mean? So because it was you and the relationship that you have nurtured with her, you know what I mean? She went ahead and made sure she took care of you.
Yeah.
And those days are so important, bro. Like that one day to where if one thing pops off and the whole thing just blows up. And I don't think people really
100%.
realize that. Like when you say time kills all deals, like if I could close every deal the next day, because we always talk about what's it called? It's not even official till the money hits your bank account because it could be closing day, and like we're gonna have something like that happen to where you can't find another buyer, and then it's all dog shit. Oh man,
yeah. I mean, they submit some final paperwork, and then there's like a lien that was placed on the property. They got some family member that got involved and did something.
Right.
All sorts of things can happen. I've even had one day, it was closing day, money wired, seller doc signed, and because it didn't get closed in time, it was with a different escrow officer. Because it didn't get closed in time, the seller had called in and said, "Go ahead and hold off. We're going to cancel. We're going to sell it to our son." And even though everything was signed, all money in, ready to release to record, the fiduciary responsibility of the escrow officer couldn't release it to record, so that deal fell apart, and it was a
oh my
deal.
goodness,
yeah,
and that's
man,
that's not uncommon though.
Yeah,
how did you find Dana?
What's that?
How'd you find Dana? Because like I've gone through so many escrow officers. I love Kim as well, but I think Dana and Kim are like top. I mean, we don't got to trash some other companies out here, bro. But like we've all been through them all. I called you when I needed an escrow officer.
So I found Dana through going through a few others. So when we first started, we used my partner's sister at Chicago Title, and she was phenomenal, super on top of it, hard worker. And her assistant, Julie Wiley, she worked with her, and she was just as good. My partner's sister, she ended up retiring, and then Julie took over. She was doing a great job, was working with her. Everything was smooth. Then we moved over to wholesaling. Everything was great, still going through Chicago Title. Then she moved to Stewart Title. Everything was fine, no problems. Then in 2019, there was some new like national title something or other, for lack of a better word, that came out, some new regulation or whatever. Some bullshit came out that didn't allow wholesaling to be done in the same way without full disclosure, meaning the seller had to sign off on the fact that you were assigning the rights to sell the property to someone else, and for
which they already did when they signed the purchase agreement that says or signs, right? Or signs.
But someone must have got sued.
Mm-hmm.
And then this was the extra protection to protect title by putting in additional disclosures, right? So now knowing that in some cases you really don't want to disclose the amount you're making because it's none of their business. You're buying it for the price you agreed to. So why does it matter? They know you're buying this as an investment to make money, but just knowing people's nature at the closing table, if they know at closing the same day they're supposed to get the money they're supposed to get, that you're already making your money
that they were happy about,
they're somehow disappointed and upset about it, which makes no sense. But that's just human nature coming out. So because to avoid that scenario, we started looking around and found another wholesaler that was using a title escrow company in LA. And was using them for a while, and just realized that she was just way over analytical, and was like slowing deals down. At first she was great.
Is this Emerald?
But then she was, no, not Emerald. I have to go back.
Probably the one I used.
The name of the company was Behringer Escrow.
Okay, no, that's not the one I use.
In LA. And so we were using them, and she just became overly analytical. So then I started searching around who else is using people locally that can do, wholesale deals without issues. So stumbled upon Dana. I think I checked with a couple other wholesalers like Matt Garabedian and some other dudes. And they said, yeah, she's cool. So just gave her a try, and I vibed with her, and she was cool. And she got it done, and the rest is history, man. She's been great.
Love it.
I got something real quick. So what's going on with the assignments at Placer now, right? Because at a point we quit using them because of the nonsense they put us through. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, and that's why we started going to Kim.
Yep. So they basically had some title regulation stuff that came on top of them as well, to where if your assignment fee was greater than 20% of the purchase price, you had to disclose that amount you were making to the seller. So there's some ways that you can work around that based on, circumstances of that deal. If the deal has hair all over it, and maybe there's some things that you're taking on, there's some ways around it. But yeah, it is still something to consider based on the type of deal. Like, for instance, there is a deal we got in a contract today for $40,000. The ARV is $240, and I'm gonna buy that cash
for sure. You should,
close on it, and then I'm gonna wholesale it because I'm not messing around with anything.
I wouldn't risk that. Yeah,
not at all.
But you know what makes that whole you know what really ruffles my feathers?
Grinds my gears.
Oh, ruffles my feathers on this one, right? Is that whole new 20% type thing, because there's nothing illegal about wholesaling. And so when we talk about disclosures, right, we sign these disclosures, blah, 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 blah. And it's like it's like you're almost sticking your nose where it doesn't belong. Like, if we've built these relationships with these homeowners and you're bringing these people in and you're talking about the transaction with them and they're okay with it, like you're regulating other people's businesses, and we're not doing anything wrong. And I think that's what really frustrates me, because a homeowner can know 100% that this home is trashed. Give me my $70,000. I know you'll go ahead and make probably 60, 70 off of it. And I'm okay with that because it's such a burden for me. But the title company is saying, well, that's more than 20% of, the purchase price. So we can't do that.
Yeah.
But the flipper is going to make the money anyways. The flipper is going to buy it at the same price if they have the opportunity.
Only because they own it at that point now.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's frustrating. It's just like a lot of other things going on in the world right now. Just a lot of overreach and meddling and things. But yeah, it's just like anything else in business. You just got to roll with the punches, and you got to be flexible, and you got to be able to maneuver through things and be able to adapt.
And we have. I think that's a big thing for all of us, as we've been able to adapt to kind of the changes that's been going on, and we're actually doing better with more regulation. Like, that's and that in itself is crazy.
Yeah, 100%.
So what are you doing when it pops up? Like, because I know Placer has to you still have to sign with Placer regardless, right, to disclose. And so when a seller asks, what are you guys saying?
No, we don't have to, because we used to, but based on Dana's guidance, she said, hey, by the way, if you just put this such and such language in your contract, we don't have to send the seller a disclosure to sign at all.
What's the language?
So we put, you said, don't tell him. look at Mike. You basically put that the contract may be assigned for a fee without any further written notice or disclosure to the seller, something to that effect.
Without further written notice or disclosure to the seller.
Now, that additional language there, I didn't like. So I actually told her, I said, I don't want to put that. I'm just going to put, this contract may be assigned for a fee. Like, that's it, period. And she said, all right, okay, we'll get it approved by title. So that's what I have. I have a line item that says assignment, : this contract may be assigned for a fee, the end. And
which is crazy, because most of our, go ahead, sorry.
No, you're good. I was just going to say that's, that in itself just makes it clear, because we do say and or signs, right? So there should be no problem there.
But there's also a portion, like even in my contract, where we go over it. I don't know what bullet's like, bullet 3, you know what I mean? And we go over and it says seller understands that buyer exercises the right to use all, different was it exit strategies when it comes investment strategies, right? Assignments, buy and hold, fix and flip. Like, so they had that language was already in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that in yours. I don't have that language in mine, but
I've always had it in mind. So that's why I was just like, well, what is adding this going to do? Like, I'm basically going over it twice.
Yeah. And maybe you just adjust it the way you have. But that in itself just avoided any sort of additional disclosures, and it helps streamline things.
Unless the fee is over $20,000, 20%.
Right. Which, again, there's ways around it.
Yeah.
Have you talked about how you've built your buyers list and like what's it called? My boy Adam had a deal, couldn't get it sold. Somebody came in, lowballed him at cost, and then you were going to double what he thought he was going to make initially. Like this happens all the time. Like, have you talked about like how you've built that buyers list? And like he's making way more money than he ever thought on this deal just because he sent it to you. And I've done the same thing multiple times.
This is recently, right?
Yeah, this is Ridgecrest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I guess the way that we've built the buyers list again has just been really organic. We started out kind of looking at some lists and trying to do it that way. I remember like, oh man, I'm going to get so many good buyers. I'm going to pull this list down. I'm going to text them. They're all going to respond. Like, why wouldn't they? They want deals. And like one person will respond, and they weren't really even investing, So for me, I couldn't think that would be the best way to do it. So I just started kind of doing the guerrilla marketing strategies, getting on Facebook. And then from there started growing. And then let's see, what else did I do? I got some new crazy stuff I'm about to be doing soon that's going to be real nasty.
Do you use Investor Lift?
I have looked into that. That is interesting. I don't know if it'll be any different than what access to different tools I already currently have. But I've found that the most effective has just been continuing to send out good deals, and then people start talking about it.
Yeah.
Like if your deals consistently go out because you have them, more people see it, more people start talking, and then it just grows from there. And now I just have inbound buyers leads coming rather than me like always looking for them, and then it's like you close a deal with this one person, and then they find their family member wants to buy one too. Like, hey, can you get my uncle one too? He's got $200K he wants to spend right now. And, if you send another deal like this, we'll do it. So then you start adding those kind of people, and it just grows.
And they are the flipper, right? Because those are the people who pay bottom. And then we have the, what's it called? Buy and hold people are next. Then we have the 1031 people. Then we have everyone else.
Money. You got that
the mattress money, the doctors. What else? Like all
because
that
those guys,
stuff.
Their investments are completely different, right? They're looking to just shield some of this money basically for tax purposes and stuff like that. So they're not looking at necessarily what the return is, right? Obviously, they don't want to come out of pocket on some of these, investments that they make. But if they can park their money somewhere and it's going to make them a couple $100 a month, like they're 100% okay with that because they were going to have to, pay taxes on that stuff, or it's just sitting in the bank account, not making them no money.
There's some new strategies I'm going to be implementing soon where we're going to be adding doctors, farmers, surgeons, like bankers, all these different other people that are happy if they're paying just under retail, like 95% on the dollar. So there could be some crazy, there could be some crazy new profits coming out after implementing some of these strategies.
So do you do any type of lending?
I haven't. I've considered it.
Yeah.
For me, I like just stacking chips because in my mind, there's a big deal that is right around the corner that I'm going to want to plop a big amount down, and I want it to be a cash flow investment, and I just want it to be coming in so I could just chill. And it won't be my only one that I do, but it might be my first one into that new bigger investment. And my partner, he keeps telling me, because he's doing some bigger investments.
He's doing some big time deals, man. I listen to him sometimes and I'm like, fuck. It's almost overwhelming,
But some of those deals aren't that much different in terms of how do you structure it? How do you put the contracts together? They're just a little bit different numbers, a little bit different type of investment vehicle.
A lot big different numbers, but yeah.
So for me, he's nudging me like, hey man, stack a few more chips and then we'll get you in on the next deal. And these are what these deals have been looking like. So that's what I've been focusing on, is wanting to do that. And we've been investing in some other things like Amazon store, and we're going to be setting up a Walmart store, and, investing in some other, types of marketing and trying to improve our systems and stuff like that. We're always investing money into the business. But yeah, lending is something I want to get into for sure. And as a matter of fact, there's a guy I just was talking to, and he built up a pretty nice lending operation where he made 70 grand just on points this last month.
Wow. And it's small. It's smaller, right? Because you can make a lot of money.
And that was just using $2.5 million worth of capital that he turned that.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's amazing, man. But it's amazing what you kind of open your eyes to, and just by building those genuine relationships with people, the things that you're exposed to. Because I would say that's the biggest thing. Also, getting it with real estate is that you get exposed to so many things you couldn't even wrap your mind around. And once you start dipping into those things, now it's just like the money is just, you know what I mean? And you're just like, damn, not that it was that easy, but just exposure is crazy.
Yeah, you gotta be networking, and you gotta avoid the shiny object syndrome in this business for sure. And the example I like to give is when I first started, I was in 8 months, maybe close to 12 months in. And then I started getting introduced to some of the LA properties. I'm doing all my stuff in the Central Valley, but I started getting introduced to hey, here's some LA properties. Buy this one for $2 million. Its ARV is $3 million. It needs 300 and repair and remodel, but you could wholesale it for $100K. Bring a buyer to this deal and we'll get it sold. And I started chasing those deals like crazy. And I almost hate to tell this story, but it's so funny. I got to tell it. I started going down such a rabbit hole in all these different relationships that were with people probably doing some deals here and there, but were most of the people that you could think of, a few people that might do some deals here and there, but are mostly chasing deals that are all different types of deals all over the place. I kid you not, there was two different scenarios I gotta tell you. One of them was we were trying to sell the Empire State Building. And we had legit qualified buyers on the phone talking about buying the Empire State Building. I'm not kidding you. And we were close. I don't know if it was this close.
He's close to selling it.
This close.
Oh shit! This is getting
Who the hell got in contact with the owner of the Empire State Building?
Fucking who owns it? The city or the state own it?
It was some guy. You could Google it at the time when I was involved in it, and his attorney was the guy who was handling it. And we were talking through him, and then we were talking with other attorneys and their buyers, and getting on conference calls, and it It was crazy, man. It was crazy.
How big was your payday supposed to be?
Yeah, I was about to say, how big was that?
It was in the millions, but that wasn't even the best one. It wasn't even the best one. The best one, I kid you not. Have you guys ever heard of like banks? They call them tapes. Like they're going to sell a tape of properties. And I don't know why they called that. Probably because they actually like had a strip that they called that looked like a piece of tape in the day, and it read off some sort of code on it or the addresses. But a tape of properties is going to be like a large amount, like 500, 1,000, or like 10,000 or whatever. So I was involved in this daisy chain of people who had a bank relationship with an REO bank relationship of a couple major banks. And so we were all on the phone, and this was like $1 billion worth of properties. Like it was an insane amount of properties on this tape, and they had all the values in them. They were in different parts of the nation, all with this one bank. And we had all these people on the phone, and we started getting some big people on the phone looking to try to take it down. And like they were sharing proof of funds and some crazy shit like that. Like hedge funds were getting on. And I kid you not, like me and a couple other people that were involved, we were all looking to split 300 million. And that's what we had marked it up. And I remember going to bed, like my heart was pounding. I'm like, fuck, man, I'm going to be buying a jet. I'm going to be buying like all these houses. But I spent probably 3 or 4 months wasted going through that stupid stuff.
How'd it fall through, bro?
Man, you know.
Man, with that many people involved, somebody's attorney
somebody
got a part of that one. I bet you it was an attorney.
Or was it not even real?
I can't remember the details at this point, but all I know is it's just like if you start finding yourself chasing all these shiny objects, you're going to find yourself on a conference call like that. And you're going to think, you're not going to know what percentage of it is true or real, but it's going to feel real. And you're going to think that it's going to be something, but it's probably not.
Man, I got the owner of American Airlines. He about to hit me up, man. We got this $300 million deal. He's throwing in a jet in the Lambo.
This dude said the fucking Empire State.
I'm not joking, man. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Hell yeah.
Well, so look, we've been on here for about 1 hour and 7 minutes. It's 9 o'clock. You got 3 children, and you're about to be beat up by your wife. I'm probably going to get beat up by my wife.
She's going to club me.
So what happened?
So she's going to club me as soon as I come out.
You know what I'm saying? As soon as I walk through the door, poof, oh, shit. You know what I mean? Nose bleeding. Okay, so we don't want to take up all your time, man. Obviously, we can stay on this damn thing all damn day. I think that's a testament to the relationship that, you know, all 3 of us have and stuff like that. And so we might have to get you on again because I feel like it was a whole lot of stuff that we really didn't even get to go over.
We just went over like the background story.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So there's still a lot more that we could talk about. And so I definitely would love to have you back on at an earlier time, right?
Yeah.
And any closing words you want to give everybody or?
No, I mean, we can talk about so many other things, but the main thing is for people that are just getting started or maybe they've been in it for a while, like it really comes down to just like figuring it out. And most of the time figuring it out and getting past that hump is just, you got to put in the effort and you got to be willing to care enough about your own success to figure out those details that you don't want to. Like, I kind of like numbers. I kind of get excited about accounting now, but at first, like that was daunting. Like,
yeah,
figure that out. Where do I even start? You know, I started Googling it and researching it and like learning about it because I knew it mattered. If I wanted to be successful, I needed to learn it. So, and that first job, for example, that I had in the corporate world, the job I went into, I was pretty underqualified and they needed me to help develop some stuff. And I learned how to code. I learned how to code off of Google. Like I joined forums and learned how to code and just was like, how do I make this program open up by using this program and then have it create a document and then type in these words and then save it. Like I learned that shit by Googling it. And so you just got to figure it out, and you got to keep putting in the effort and push through, and like you'll get to the other side if you're willing to push through and put in the work. Yeah,
for sure. For sure.
You made my entire month with that story, bro.
Fucking
Empire State Building, baby.
Fuck, that's ridiculous.
It was good, man. It was gonna be a good deal.
Thank you so much for coming on, bro. And I mean, that's not. I know several people who are chasing deals like that right now.
100%. A lot of people.
You talking about me?
Did that hit you? You felt that one?
Yeah, you know, it ain't 300 million. It ain't 300 million. It ain't 300 million, but I am wasting a lot of time on it, but it is a fat deal.
If you think it's you, it's you.
No, it's the damn daughter of the deceased lady we working with. So
thank you so much for coming on, bro. Where can people reach out to you?
Yeah, just hit me up on Instagram at Home Helpers Group, and hit me with a follow, send me a DM, let's connect from there. And I love I'm so passionate about it. I like talking to anybody. I especially love talking to new guys. Like there's another Adam, not the Adam that was on, but another Adam who connected through a Fortune Builder relationship. We just closed a $40,000 deal today. He didn't have any buyers. It's his first deal. We got it sold within. Yes. Well, that's where you know who he is, but he's from the Fresno area. And sure enough, we sold it in a minute. That buyer actually backed out. And then because he had something come up, right? He had something come up, which like I said, time kills deals. And it didn't take long. Like he had something come up that he couldn't get done, couldn't get it done anymore. So went right back to the other people that were interested. Boom, got it sold, and they were all over it. And it's a great deal, and it worked for everybody, Nice. So if you're new, you're experienced, hit me up. I just love talking with people and love doing deals with other people I can trust, and we can lift each other up,
Sure.
100%.
For sure.
And we both vouch for him 100%. I signed a $0 assignment fee. I've done it.
too many times. I'm looking forward to signing it soon.
Yes, sir.
So. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
We'll see you guys next week.
Take care.